All right. Welcome in, guys. It's been a couple weeks since we've had a Tundra rankings. And we've had some shakeups. We've had some shakeups in the league a little bit. We've seen teams kind of shift into losing ways or winning ways. But I'll go back here a couple weeks, talk a little bit about who's been winning and who's been losing. So I think it's been since week 5 since I've last said anything. But yeah, so since then, Clarence has gotten hot. And he has won 2 weeks, I believe. Yep, he's won 2 weeks, so he's 2-1 of those past 3 weeks. Freaking the Sheets has went 1-2. Picked up a win against Murph, which is clearly tanking. The Lumberjacks went 0-3. Like I said, clearly are tanking, trying to get the number 1 pick again. And then the shitey game picker in Watts has been 3-0. Trent has actually picked up. Has he picked up 2 wins or just? Yeah, he's 2-1 in his last 3, which is good for Trent as he was struggling. Trent, 400 points and losses. I'm assuming he's salty about this week. And then Clarence, like I said, is 2-1 in his past couple. The Taxpayers dropped one, I believe, last week to Watts. Did they? Yes. Watts dropped a 532 on him. That's crazy. Sergio, he is 2-1 as well. So some of these middle tier teams and the Creatures are 1-2 in their last 3. And then the Fowlers are also 1-2. Picked up a win last week. So I'll run through last week's matchup since that was the most recent. And let me see if I can block that sun. There we go. Last week's matchup was the Beecher Creatures and the Flagrant Fowlers. The Fowlers take down the Creatures 422 to 375. Creatures just didn't have enough firepower at the end of the week. I was really hoping last week I was going to get Wimby back, but just didn't happen. And then Daniel falls to Sergio 456 to 283. An absolute ass stomping from Sergio. That's a big week for Sergio. The Lumberjacks fall as usual to the Blade Breakers. Watts drops a 532 piece on Marsh. Didn't even give him a chance. That really, going into last week, I was actually going to have Marsh higher in the rankings than Watts. I don't think I can do that now after a 532 piece. And then Clarence, who's currently 3rd in the standings right now at 5-2, drops a 474 on Trent, who falls to 3-4. Go through the weekly report last week. Yeah, our highest scoring team was Watts, 532. That's a crazy high score. Congrats to Watts there. And then we saw the high scoring picks. Jamal Murray had a 76 piece for Watts. Austin Reeves was the highest scoring shooting guard with a 65.5. Trey Murphy also had a huge week. He dropped a 59 against me, but that was for Michael. Sergio had Scotty Barnes drop a 62.7, and Nikola Jokic for Watts drops an 86. We had, let's see here, see if I could. Yeah, so it's going to go through pick performance from last week. Watts had a 532 max or 536 max. He scored 532.4. That is crazy. Another 100% efficiency for Clarence, a 474 out of a max 474. The Arlington Taxpayers had an 87.9%. Sergio 96.4. Fowlers 95.7. Trent 99.1. The Blade Breakers 98.8. The Creatures 96.1. And then our other 2 teams looks like they're tanking for the number 1 and 2 pick next year. A little bit of a look ahead going into week 8. This is a weird week because I think this is our NBA Cup week So you kind of have to really pay attention to matchups and how things play out, which teams continue to play this week. Because there's only like one or two actual regular season games this week. So keep an eye out on that. You're really going to have to keep on your phone and check your lineups just about every day. So the creatures are going up against the tax evaders. Tax evaders are probably going to come out on this one. Still no Wimby for me. And I've also had some other injuries that have not been necessarily kind to my squad. Not that I think I compete with Marsh anyways, but I think I would at least be a little bit more respectable if I had those guys. Daniel is going up against Trent. Daniel's looking for his second win of the year. I think Trent's probably going to pull this one out, but wouldn't count Daniel out completely. Fowlers get a freebie this week going up against the Louisville Lumberjacks. The Lumberjacks are clearly locking in their lowest scoring team or games of the week in order to attempt to tank. And the Fowlers are probably just going to get a free win. The Game Pickers are going up against Clarence. This is actually a great matchup. Looking forward to this one. Watts, who's 7-0, going up against Clarence, who's 5-2. If Watts has a week like last week, nobody's beating them, but there is a possibility that Clarence has another huge week, and it's enough to overcome Watts. And then this is another fun one. We got Sergio and the Blade Breakers going up against each other. I expect Sergio to come out on top in this one, but we'll see how that one kind of shakes out. All right, so on to the rankings. We got through all that pretty quick, trying to get through the rankings here. The Lumberjacks are coming in at 10. Not much has changed about this team. They continue to tank, and they're probably going to be the reason that we install a lottery going forward after this year. Nothing I can do about it right now, but that is what we're looking at. He's got some great players. He's got some guys that are really starting to come into their own. With Anthony Edwards, picking him up was huge for him, even though he traded a lot for him. Reed Shepherd's looked good this year. He's definitely developing into the player that I think he was hoping. Alex Sarr has been very solid in Washington when he's played. He hasn't played a ton lately. It looks like LaMelo's time in Charlotte may be coming to an end, and I think that's probably positive for him. Cooper Flagg has also turned the corner a little bit. And Michael Porter Jr. has been pretty impressive for the Nets so far this year. And, it's been got some youth in here and guys that are developing nicely, but still right now it looks like Murph is still in tank mode, maybe getting another year of tanking under his belt. At number 9, I got Freaking the Sheets. Team just continues to struggle, but he has, as we always say, he has Cade, so he's in a decent spot. Jaylen Brown is probably a piece he needs to look to move. Kobe White may also be another piece. Those Bulls look like dog shit, by the way. Joel Embiid's been back and playing a little bit more, which is good news for Daniel, but he just needs his value to go up a little bit so he can maybe trade him for a decent piece. And then, everybody else seems like on his team is just kind of mid. So I think Daniel needs to do some looking inward here and decide if he's going to sell here as we get closer to the trade deadline. I think, that Jaylen Brown, Kobe White, maybe even like a Naz Reid, like he can move some of these guys and get some decent pieces, and maybe not first round picks, but maybe some second rounders, third rounders, and or just some guys that are a little bit more project pieces and hope they develop. So Daniel's coming in right now at number 9. The Blade Breakers are coming in at 8. Wyatt's team has been beat up by injuries, but he's had a few bright spots. Emmanuel Quickly has been very nice, a nice pickup for him. Connor Gillespie, I think he picked him up off of waivers, has been impressive. Porzingis has been hurt off and on. Markkanen was a nice pickup by him. I think he picked him up earlier in the year, not off waivers, but in a trade. I think that was a great trade for him. And then, he's beat up by injuries pretty bad. It's pretty unfortunate when you look at his team because he has some decent pieces. But right now, I think this team is in probably wait for next year type of move. And I see him probably leaning towards that, maybe trading off a piece or two as we get closer to the trade deadline. At number 7, we have I think I'm going to go Sergio's 2-1 now. He is 2-1 in his last 2. We're going to go the Beecher Creatures. I'm going to put myself there. Without Wemby, this team is just not able to get into that 400 range. It's clear. Josh Giddey just isn't doing enough. Mathurin has had his nights where he's been good. Buzelis as well. This team's just very streaky. If I could get a week where everybody performs at a pretty high level in the 40s, this team is capable of dropping 400 and above. But right now, it just seems like we get half of the guys get to that 40 range, and then the other ones I'm blocking in 30s and 35s, and that's tough. Giddey's had some huge games. Keegan Murray has been a nice surprise. I actually was debating on trading him earlier in the year, but right now he looks like the number 2 option there out in Sacramento, and the likelihood that they trade off some of their older talent is growing by the day. So that could be a nice piece for me. Looking forward to seeing what goes on right there. But right now the Creatures are in a little bit of a tough spot, probably going to be 500 after this week. And so I'm going to put them at the number 7 spot. At number 6, I have Sergio. Sergio climbs just a little bit, I think, from the last ranking I had. Ryan Rollins has been very impressive for the Bucks. Desmond Bane has started to look like himself again. De'Aaron Fox is good as always. Bam Adebayo is back. That's huge for Sergio. Scotty Barnes has been good. Sengun has been a stud. This team is not to be slept on. Zach Edey, I think, even dropped like a 70, didn't he? A 63 last week. That's crazy. So there's been some big games, and if they can ever get Ja Morant back in the lineup, and then you stack some of these other guys on top of it here, this team's salty. And we've seen that last week where he had a huge week. So Sergio is trending up, which is why he's currently sitting at number 6. At number 5, I have the Flagrant Fowlers. This team is 1-2 in their last couple, but the Fowlers are getting healthier. They're getting some of their guys back. When is Cam Thomas back? That's a big. He's out for 2 weeks. That's tough. Yeah, right now, Kevin Porter had a huge game the other night, which is just crazy to me. Austin Reeves also playing well above his weight. Trey Murphy, Jaime Jaquez, all these guys are kind of playing above where I would expect them to be. Holmgren has been good. Miles Bridges has been actually really good. So, right now they're kind of hanging on. I actually like where Sergio's team is headed compared to this team. To me, this team is at 4-3 right now. But I don't know. I feel like they're just overperforming a little bit, but I can't knock them for where they're at. So, they're coming in at number 5 for me right now. At number 4, I have the 3 and 4. At 3 and 4, I have Trent. This team seems to be trending in the right direction as well. Vija has been a huge pickup for him. Trent calls him Jesus. Steph is back off injury. That's big. Brunson has been Brunson. CJ McCollum's also been turning in some good games, even though he's on a shitty Wizards team. He gets Andrew Wiggins back. He picked up this Malik renewed. Malik. I don't know why I said Malik. But Maxime has been pretty solid so far. Pretty impressive to watch him. And then Siakam is kind of that only option there other than Mathurin in Indiana, and that has been very solid. It looks like he's made some other waiver wire moves. I'll tell you who has been ass on his team, and that is Miles Turner. Not been good. not been good since he's went over to the Bucks. That is who's coming in at number 4. At number 3, I have Clarence, which is where he's been really good. This team has been very kind of a surprise to me this year. Maxey has been unreal, maybe on an MVP type of year. Jalen Suggs has been good. Davion Mitchell has been a nice piece there in Miami. He's a little streaky, though. Amen Thompson has been very good for the Rockets. Karl Anthony Towns had a huge week last week. Duran has been good, and these Pistons have been good. This team's deep. This team is good, and all that, I could say all those names, and he still has LeBron, a nice piece in VJ Edgecombe, who hasn't been playing as well lately. And then if you can get Dyson Daniels going, this team might be moving their way into the upper echelon. They're healthy. And that's one thing I always said about Clarence's team is if this aging core that he has can get healthy, he's in a good spot. And because he has the youth that kind of goes along with it. So we'll see what plays out for Clarence. But right now, he's been really good. He's 5-2 in the league. And he is at number 3. At number 2, we're looking at the Tarlington Taxitators. Arlington Taxivators, they've been really good. And like I said, up until last week, they were probably up until this past week, they were actually probably going to buy Watts for the number 1 team. But Watts came out and absolutely put his money where his mouth is and puts Marsh right now at number 2. I think, he's got some developing young players. Keontae George has been really good in Utah. Harden has been really solid there for the Clips. We also can't just not talk about Jalen Johnson being a stud. And just with the combination of Doncic, Davis, Booker who's out right now, but he's got some nice pieces. Knupel has been a really nice surprise, probably rookie of the year right now. So Marsh is in a good spot, and I think we're going to see this team in the top 3 all year. They're coming at number 2. Then Watts, lastly, we're going to talk about him. Not much to say as normal. He's been kicking ass and moves to 7-0. This team is very, very good. And I don't know why I was thinking they would be number 2. When I look at this squad, it is just deep all the way around. There's no reason this team should be losing more than 1 or 2 times this year. It's tough to compete with. Especially if you don't have those big name players that get minutes. And Watts right now has that. Shea has been good. Shy. Hero, getting him back has been a nice add. Mobley's been solid. Jokic has been Jokic, averaging 60 to 70 a game. Durant has looked good for the Rockets. Even guys like Derek White have been really nice. It's kind of looking at who else is here. Noah Clowney, nice pickup. I've tried trading him a couple times for Clowney, and he won't give them to me, which is kind of upsetting. So, but that's it, guys. That is everybody. Wanted to get this done in 20 minutes, and I actually did it. So, looking forward to this week. It's a little bit of a weird week, so pay attention. And from there, we'll see. Probably see right before Christmas. I'm gonna try and get one more out before Christmas. Sorry about last week. Last week is just kind of hell at work, and finally kind of catching up on some things this week. So I will see you guys in a couple weeks. Peace.